Obviously, this is a huge week for the entire movie industry, really, particularly the theater industry, as one of the most highly anticipated films of the year, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, opens to the public in theaters tomorrow, or maybe depending on a country you live in, it might be opening today. But for us, it opens tomorrow. I've got my 3 p.m. tickets, very excited to see it, and it seems like the world is excited to see it. Or are they? A news story has just come out in Deadline that the Wakanda Forever advanced ticket sales are actually trailing 20% behind Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And Ray, if you can pull up and look up what Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness made opening weekend, we'll get to that in a second. But Deadline writes this: advanced ticket sales through Sunday for Disney Marvel Studios' Black Panther: Wakanda Forever stand at $45 million, about 20% behind Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness at the same point in time, although it is 40% ahead of where Thor: Love and Thunder was, and that opened pretty well.
That's 187 million.
187, which had a fabulous opening weekend, Doctor Strange did. Anyway, Doctor Strange 2, before its domestic opening of 187.4 million, had 85 million in advanced ticket sales, while Thor: Love and Thunder had banked 48 million of its $141 million domestic opening by its preview Thursday. Before debuting to 202 million over the 3 days in February 2018, Black Panther had 55 million in advanced ticket sales. Okay, so let's take that figure and try to take the overreaction out of it. The reality is that the last Black Panther movie opened to $202 million. And right now, the advanced ticket sales for Wakanda Forever are only 10 million behind what that was. So yes, it is trailing 20% behind what Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness was, but Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness did open to $187 million, right? Does that put Wakanda Forever in danger of missing that projected $175 to $200 million range and putting it in the top 10 of the biggest openings of all time? I'm going to say it doesn't put it in danger. I'm going to say it doesn't. I think there are a couple of factors involved here. One, I've said for a while that I believe that one of the reasons Black Panther wasn't a contender, somebody wrote in, it was several months ago, asking, could Black Panther 2 become like the biggest box office film of all time? And I said, well, no, I don't think any film is ever going to top Avatar again, other than Endgame getting re-released and playing leapfrog with Avatar for the rest of time over who has the number one spot. But even aside from that, I've said for a long time, I believe there are two particular obstacles that Wakanda Forever faces. One, they lost their lead actor. And two, they lost their lead character. And those are two separate things, even though they're one and the same.
Yeah.
And while I believe that has probably, I still believe that is going to be an effect. I still believe that's going to be there. But I think where you are most going to see that effect is in the advanced ticket sales. I still think opening weekend when we go, I think the theaters are going to be packed. I think a lot of people are just going to go to, look, I was hanging out in Burbank. I wasn't at the AMC Burbank 16, but I was standing right in front of it. I just couldn't believe how many people are still in line at the ticket counter. It's like, really? Really? Is it 2016? There was still like a big line of people standing to buy tickets at a ticket counter, but whatever. And I believe that will be the case come opening weekend for Wakanda Forever. Look, if it wasn't for the fact that Chadwick Boseman isn't there and T'Challa isn't there, I think this is a movie that could open to 220, 230, 240. But I believe his absence is going to hurt a bit. Here's my fear. My fear is that when I come out of Wakanda Forever tomorrow, I'm going to feel like I just watched a Nirvana concert without Kurt Cobain. That's my worry, is that Wakanda, with everything else people are saying it's doing right, and I'm hoping I'm going to love it as much as a lot of people do. My one little worry going into it is I'm going to come out feeling like, yeah, it was the rest of the band, but the lead wasn't there. So I don't know that I'm going to feel that way. I'm just a little bit nervous that I might feel that way. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. And now for the plot twist. I'm just kidding. There isn't one. Mint Mobile just has premium wireless from $15 a month. There's no trapping you into a 2-year contract or opening the bill to find all these crazy fees. There's no luring you in with free subscriptions to streaming services that you'll forget to cancel cancel and be charged full price for. With my old wireless provider, every month when I opened the bill, it was like playing roulette. I never knew how big the bill was going to be, and it always seemed to get bigger. With Mint Mobile, it's totally different. I know exactly how little I'm paying every month, and there's never any surprises. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or a family. And at Mint Mobile, families start at just 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And guys, you get to use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. So transferring over couldn't be easier. So to get premium wireless from just $15 a month and no unexpected plot twists, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. You'll make your wallet very happy at mintmobile.com/Campea. Anyway, Rob, you hear these numbers that as of right now, Wakanda Forever is actually trailing behind 20% behind Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. Is that something to be concerned about?
You know, John, I don't think so. And I think because Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness had the Marvel fan bump to it because of all the promise of the characters like Professor Xavier, like Reed Richards. So I think that there was a fervor. Remember, the whole world is not movie fan pundit people like us.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people still don't buy movie tickets in advance. They think about going to the movies that day. And I think that the reason that Doctor Strange had such a big bump is because our diehard group of people, the people that are watching this show right now, everybody who's a huge fan of Marvel, wanted to be first in line to see who are these variants, what's going on. From a comic book standpoint, the very audience that buys things in advance, it was catnip. We had to see what's the reality of it. Whereas this movie, I think that it doesn't have that comic book fan bump, but I think what this movie does have is it has a lot of people that don't necessarily traditionally go to Marvel Cinematic Universe movies the first weekend, and that it's culturally significant to certainly the Latino community, which is the largest growing movie-going community in the United States.
Deadline did that study,
Yep, they did that study. And the thing is, but they're not necessarily, they're not people that are like, oh my God, we have to, unless you're a fan, buying movie tickets in advance is not, my mother doesn't even know you can do that. And I think like if somebody sees, I think most people not most people, but a lot of the audience does not think to buy advance tickets. A lot of the audience that might go to these, like this is the kind of movie that I could see someone's abuela going, hey, I saw that this character, he's Mesoamerican. I remember that when I was a little girl growing up, she's 90 years old. She's like, I want to go to this movie.
Because there haven't been any Mesoamericans since she was a little girl, apparently.
But no, not a superhero. Not a superhero.
Yes.
Yeah. Not somebody flying with wings on their ankles. And she sees that, but she doesn't know you can buy advance tickets. So she calls up her grandson and says, hey, take me to the movies. So I do think that there's going to be a large contingent of people that did not buy advance tickets.
Chris, you hear this? Are these figures that Disney need to be concerned about at this point? Or is this going to be rectified on, the day these things open and people are going to show up at the theaters? What do you think?
Initially I was a little surprised and I went, well, I haven't ordered my ticket because like a lot of people too, I'm a gig worker, right? Buying tickets in advance does not work for me in my schedule. And so I'm either maybe doing an extra show here, or maybe I've booked a voiceover, or maybe I have to coach someone that day. I'm not going to buy movie tickets because then I just have to cancel them and reschedule them and it's a pain in my butt. Even when you have Nirvana without Kurt Cobain, you still have Dave Grohl, my friend. Dave Grohl's amazing.
Yeah,
so there's a whole bunch of different things in this film that I think are still exactly. Yeah. I will show up alone for Angela Bassett.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people too, to Rob's point, we're not too worried about the spoiler factor of this one of like, who are the variants? Who's in the Illuminati? Ooh. We want to see how this story plays out. And I think a lot of people who aren't in this kind of like very big nerd sphere, so to speak, aren't worried about getting there first. They're just going to get there in their own time. So I think this film's going to do really well still.
Yeah, I do too.
I also wonder a little bit how much of a Carmageddon factor there is here. For those of you who don't live in the LA area, you won't know what I'm talking about, but what was the 405 that got shut down? The 405, well, first of all, traffic in LA is just stupid anyway, any given day.
Especially this week, we've been like, rain!
Oh, no. But there was this event a couple of years ago that was affectionately referred to as Carmageddon, where the 405 was being shut down. And so the prognostication was that trying to get out of your driveway in LA that week was going to be a nightmare. And they called it Carmageddon. Turns out everybody was so afraid of what the traffic was going to be, there was no traffic. And I wonder if there's a little bit of, what's the point of trying to get my tickets for opening weekend? I'm sure it's going to be all sold out. I wonder if there's a little bit of a factor in that. Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. The real number, of course, is going to be the number that we hear on Monday.
What about people losing trust in the MCU because of Phase 4? What if people haven't been happy with what's come out?
Again,
that
that's
could be
the
a
same
factor
audience
too.
that bought tickets for Doctor Strange.
All right.
Yeah, it's just, but so I mean, here's what I would say to that. I think number one, I don't think 95% of the general movie-going audience follow things like that, like us in the hardcore nerd circles do. Number two, it feels like just yesterday that Spider-Man No Way Home was out and people absolutely, completely loved it. Is it possible that something like Thor: Love and Thunder turned off enough people that maybe en masse they wouldn't go? But even then, I don't buy that, because if you were somebody who had a problem with Thor: Love and Thunder, you're loving the way Black Panther Wakanda Forever looks,
Absolutely.
right? Like, I've heard so many people, I've seen so many YouTube videos and so many articles about, yes, this is the Marvel getting back to what they should be. Like, go back the other way from the overuse of the silly humor and stuff like that. So I don't know, it might be a factor. We'll certainly find out come Monday. Because I'll tell you this. If Monday comes around and Black Panther makes $115 million opening weekend, which for 95% of movies ever released would kill to have that kind of an opening weekend. But if Wakanda Forever opens to like $115, $120 million, there's going to be a lot of questions that need to be answered after that. And maybe that's one of them, about like, did the previous movies turn people off?
Is there a bet coming right now?
Do you want there to be?
What do you think it's going to make?
I think it's going to make 197. You can go over or under that.
No, because I always have to go over your pick, because under is just like the cheap way to win a bet. So,
Is it?
yeah,
You're not doing Price is Right rules?
yeah.
The price is right.
So I'll say 200 and over. If you say 197, 200.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope it does.
I mean, it's
but
not going to do it, but shoot, I've lost a bet before. I'll lose one again.
actually, quick survey in the office here. Who's got their advanced tickets for Black Panther already?
I do not.
Am I the only one?
I'm waiting second
Just because
weekend,
the
dude.
schedule, like you said, you never
Yeah.
know what's going to pop up. That's the only reason why.
I have my tickets to Thursday night in Dolby and Saturday morning in IMAX. And then in between, I'm seeing The Fablemans, just standard.
Nobody asked, Taylor.
My weekend.
I'm sorry.
Whoa!
Oh, hey, you can switch the camera off.
I'm sorry.
His first day doing the
shut
big
it
show,
down.
and
so
Shut
trying to
down
give him a
camera
hard
A.
time. I'm so
Just go
trying to
crazy.
give him
When
a
do you have time to live? I'm always fascinated by how many movies Taylor sees.
I know.
It's my Trenta iced coffee. Sponsor me, Starbucks.
Oh,
That's
okay.
true. That's true. I sleep a lot.
All right.
Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? It's a shocking headline to see that it's trailing behind. But Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness made a lot of money in its opening weekend. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Are we overhyping this? Are we getting carried away with it? Will it mean nothing? Are the numbers going to exceed expectations? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.